Good evening and welcome to Living Local. I am Stephen Walker, and honestly, it's kind of an awkward night. I'll explain. We'll get to the weekend weather outlook, and I'll see if you got a minute before it's all said and done. Also going to sit down with a dear friend of mine, Miss Megan Larson. She's owner and chef at Vintage Kitchen in La Crosse, and she is hosting a kids event at the Holman Library this Saturday. So we'll talk all about Dip, Dip, Hooray during the Board Store Home Improvements feature of the week. And then the awkward part. It is time to name another La Crosse Community Theater Artist of the Month, and it's me. I'm directing a play at LCT called Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike, and it opens on February 6th. Lucas Leishak interviewed me, and so I'm a guest on my own show. I am wildly embarrassed. First, however, we will start where we always do with the Amundsen's Appliance Week that was. A home in Toma is considered a total loss after a fire on Sunday afternoon. Crews responded to the fire on East Clifton Street around 2:20. When they arrived, they found the home was fully engulfed in flames. Because of significant damage and stability concerns, Public Works was called to demolish the structure. Crews stayed on scene to make sure no hot spots remained, and thankfully, no one was injured. Toma Fire Chief Tim Adler said the fire does not seem suspicious, but the cause is still under investigation. Chippewa Valley small businesses are taking to social media about their concerns with trying to stay in operation. Store owners say the issue stems from a decline of in-person shopping and people trying to stretch their pennies thin during an economic hardfall from the pandemic. With little improvement made over the years, every business has seen a bit of a turn. Erin Klaus owns a small business in Eau Claire, and her post about her business has seen over 500 people react to it and share their own struggles.
Since I've made my post, I've had businesses from around the state of Wisconsin and Minnesota reaching out to me with similar issues and concerns and looking for ways to collaborate on messaging about how important it is to continue to put our dollars into our local community.
Klaus's post drew more than the business community's attention. She saw customers pack into her store the very next day.
First, it was a typical slow day. Saturdays have been pretty slow, especially in January, everywhere. And so the first hour was just normal. And then almost like out of the blue, I just kept having crowds of people come in back to back.
Customers showing support while managing their own economic hardship is something Klaus says she's noticed since the pandemic.
COVID changed not just the way that we interact with each other, but it really changed the way that people spent their money.
The spike in online shopping has meant far less foot traffic for local shops. That's the genesis behind Klaus's post.
Community got used to a convenience style of spending, but what we really are asking people is to start coming back to conscious spending, and that although it is maybe more effort and more time to locate some of those products in your own community, the impact of the dollars spent here is massive.
Klaus serves as the executive director for Downtown Eau Claire Incorporated, or DECI. She says it's not just her business that's struggling, it's everybody.
It's striking to see the number of business owners that are living paycheck to paycheck, are struggling to make ends meet, might be considering closing their doors in the next year. And this is coming from all types of business, regardless of political affiliation. Our major staples of downtown that have been here 20 years or more, down to businesses who had just opened within the last year.
Klaus says with the support of the local, state, and federal governments, her call to action starts with spreading the word and hoping the community will help keep local businesses at the forefront. McDonald Area Catholic Schools, or MACS, kicked off Catholic Schools Week on Sunday by hosting their annual Spaghetti Spectacular and Kids Winter Carnival. Over 100 student volunteers gave families the chance to spend time together while enjoying carnival games, bouncy houses, and raffle prizes. MAC's president, Molly Bishman, says they have hosted the event for over 15 years, and they hope to continue making a difference in students' lives.
One of our main values at McDonald Area Catholic Schools is the strength of our community. So it's not just those that are directly involved in our school, but our parish members, our community members, anyone who wants to come and just share in that value of community with us. That means a lot to us during Catholic Schools Week.
MACS and all of the area Catholic schools are celebrating Catholic Schools Week through tomorrow. The city of Eau Claire has announced the community's first snow shoveling champion. Jason, Barbara, and Evelyn have all been recognized for their contribution to the neighborhood. If you know of someone else who's putting their all into keeping sidewalks clear this winter, you can nominate them and send in a photo. The city of Eau Claire may feature them in an upcoming newsletter. That has been a check on the Amundsen's Appliance week that was. Now, when we come back, we will talk with the impressive and talented Megan Larson about Dip Dip Hooray in the Board Store Home Improvements feature of the week. That's next on Living Local. Stick around. Welcome back to Living Local, friends and neighbors. It is time now for the Board Store Home Improvements feature of the week. A dear friend of mine to my left, Miss Megan Larson. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. You got a big event coming up this Saturday.
I do. I'm so nervous to talk at the big desk.
At the big desk. Dip Dip Hooray.
Dip Dip Hooray.
You were saying this kind of ties into your childhood a little bit?
Yeah, it's so weird, kind of, I guess, but growing up the way I did, and food insecurity was a thing. My mom offered, this is such an abridged version of this story, but my mom offered me just some sour cream and then the spice rack and said, make your own dip for these chips that we have in our cabinet, and just make your own thing. I'm assuming she was just doing that to get me out of her way for a little while, but I made dip that I fed my family for like a week on. So when I was speaking to the library system, we were trying to figure out some programming for children and kind of what would be accessible to everyone. And this is what we came up with.
So Dip Dip Hooray is coming down at the Holman Library, noon on Saturday. You have to pre-register because there's only 25 seats available, but it's specifically for kids, right?
Yeah, yep, it's for kids. So I think we're gearing this towards like 4th graders to 9th graders. Just when they get home, how can they be a little bit more independent? How can they get themselves a snack? We're going to teach knife skills to be safe with that. There's no heat involved, so you don't have to worry about kids, turning on the stove while you're not there, anything like that. But just something where they can feel empowered to create their own food and kind of understand where that comes from.
This also kind of ties into the mission statement of your restaurant, right?
Yeah. I think it's super important for all of us, regardless of how old we are, to understand where, our food comes from and to have that tangible access to create. So it's kind of the gateway to big culinary things,
How long have you been open now? A month? Is that right?
It's a month and a half. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Of course, if you don't know, we're talking about the Vintage Kitchen in La Crosse. How's it going?
It's so incredible. I was not expecting such an amazing response from the community. I mean, people have been coming in from all over. It's just been wild. It's been wild. I love it.
Also, if you don't know, we talked to her a little bit ago about this restaurant and what's going on over there. In a nutshell, what is the Vintage Kitchen?
Well, it's, Midwest comfort food, elevated a little bit. It's just a cozy atmosphere, kind of like Grandma's house around the holidays is kind of how I've been marketing it. It's just nostalgia.
Yeah. Talk about, I've made you talk about this before, but talk about making your tummy happy.
Yeah. So I grew up with a lot of food insecurity. And I have a younger brother, his name is James, and we grew up in a split family household. So, we were at our dad's house and we were at our mom's house. And one of the nights we were at our dad's house, we slept on bunk beds. And he was just kind of, moving back and forth and just not really sleeping. And so I kind of poked my head down on his, bunk bed, because obviously older sisters get the top bunk. And I just said, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you sleeping? It's like 2 a.m. And he was like, my tummy hurts. I didn't eat anything today. And I said, okay, well, let me see what I can do. So I went into the cabinets and I went into the refrigerator and found a moldy loaf of bread and some condiments in the refrigerator. I cut off the mold of the bread, and which you should not do, by the way. This is a do as I say, not as I do moment. And I got a little bit of mayo, and then some water. And I just said, I know it's not a lot, but at least it'll make your tummy happy. And that's kind of been the through line of my culinary life.
Which also ties into what we were talking about this weekend with Dip Dip Hooray. It always amazes me not only how elegant your dishes are, but how simple they are, in that they are food you recognize, but they are exactly elevated. Is that just what you do?
I think so. I don't really know what I do yet, right? I just, Yeah, I come from really humble beginnings and I am still in a humble life now. And I think everybody deserves good food. And I don't think you need to make it anything more than what it is. You know, we're not doing a ton of molecular gastronomy at the Vintage Kitchen, but you are going to get, things that are braised for hours, and you're getting things that are just comforting and soul fulfilling, I think.
The Vintage Kitchen, it is in La Crosse. It used to be the Restore Public House, was the Mint before that. It was Kate's on State before that. So if you're from the area, you know where it's at, but it's under brand new ownership and doing really exciting things. And if you've got a 4th through 9th grader and you want to give them some food independence, check out Dip Dip Hooray at the Holman Public Library this Saturday. You got to pre-register because there's only 25 spots available. Did we get everything?
I think so.
Okay.
Holman Library, 12 to 1:30. Kids, dip, hooray.
There you go. Dip Dip Hooray. And look for the Vintage Kitchen. You got a website for me?
I do. It's thevintagekitchenlax.com.
There you go, friends. Look it up today, thevintagekitchenlax.com. We will see her again. I'm sure she is Megan Larson. She owns the Vintage Kitchen, and this weekend, she's hosting Dip Dip Hooray at the Holman Public Library. We'll be back with more in just a bit. This has been the Board Store Home Improvements feature of the week. Start the new year warmer and more comfortable with new windows from the Board Store Home Improvements. Improve energy efficiency, reduce winter drafts, and enjoy a quieter home all season long. The Board Store Home Improvements. Improving your home, improving your life.
We're going to see quite a bit of sunshine as we head throughout the weekend here. Friday, sunny and cold. We're also going to see it sunny into Saturday, where you do warm up towards those mid-20s. Then Sunday cools down a few degrees once again, but you'll have a chance of snow. So let's take a look at that futurecast and what you can expect from that. There's going to be quite a bit of sunshine, and these models do pick up on a little bit of cloud cover. They're going to overdo it a little bit. So you head throughout Friday night, not too much to worry about. The snow is going to stay out of the area, staying north and farther south of you guys. Then we see it start to clear out going to noon on Saturday. It's not until you move into Sunday, leading towards noon and afternoon, where that snow makes its entrance here around 3 p.m. And you'll see that it quickly covers just about the entire area. It's going to be on the lighter side, but it will be present, and it clears out as you head into Monday morning. For Friday, these temperatures, like I said, stay right in the teens. You'll see 13 farther up to the north, 13 in the south, and in between, that's where you'll get towards those mid-teens. Now, you're going to see the highs on Saturday are also rising, going into those lower to the mid-20s. Then Sunday will cool up or warm up just a little bit, going into those upper 20s, mid-20s. Going to be a little bit of variation, but cold temperatures are going to be here to stay. Back to you guys.
Welcome back to Living Local, friends. Each month, our website, wiproud.com, highlights a local artist in the La Crosse Community Theater Artist of the Month. This month, it's me. I know it seems self-serving, and it feels that way to me as well. However, I'm directing a play, Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike, at LCT, and we open at the beginning of February. The time to highlight our show and talk a little about the battle-tested talent in this area was upon me, so I took it. As for my resume, if you want to know, over the years, I've performed in an acoustic duo, dabbled in stand-up comedy. I have spent most of my time, however, acting and directing theatrical productions. Most notably, I founded and directed the all-original sketch comedy troupe Live from La Crosse. That team performed at Chicago Sketch Fest, Milwaukee Comedy Festival, Cooley Region Sketch and Improv Festival, among others, but we're best known for the 10 seasons of sketch comedy that we brought to La Crosse. Without further ado, here's just a snippet of Lucas Layshaw's interview with me, Stephen Walker, the January 2026 La Crosse Community Theater Artist of the Month.
You just mentioned directing here, and you have done acting, you've done writing, you've done directing here. So I just want to go into acting versus directing and what scratches a different creative itch for you.
Sure.
Or is it like stages throughout life? You know, you did a bunch of acting, you kind of see the director direct, and you're like, I want to do that.
I was made to direct. I don't mean like born for it. I mean like I started a sketch comedy show with a bunch of friends of mine. hardcore into the punk DIY, like I'm going to do it myself because nobody else is going to let me, right? Friend of mine asked me, if you could do anything speaking theatrically in town, what would you want to do? And I was like, sketch comedy. So we started a sketch comedy show. We did one episode and I was like, I'm going to act in this thing. I'm the new Chris Farley, whatever was in my head. And one of the cast members, who's another good friend of mine, came up to me at the time. He's like, we need a director. There has to be a director. And instantly I was like, I'm the only one that can do that. I'm the only one that knows what this show's supposed to look like, I guess, blah, 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 blah. That led to 8 years of directing Live from Lacrosse. That itch, organizing it, being in control of what stories being out there, teaching, I don't know if there's anything else that lets me fire on all the cylinders I want to fire on. However, acting is a different beast that I get to flex, that I love to do. And I can hone in on just one person and flesh that thing out, get the laughs, do the thing to just do my one part. That's like plumbing, right? There's rough plumbing and finished plumbing. Rough plumbing is directing, finished plumbing is acting, in my opinion.
So there's a lot of, when we talk about the theater experience, there's a lot of gauges here and gears that make it all one. Do you find it, beneficial that you kind of are a jack of all trades, where it's like you worked in different departments throughout the whole process?
Yeah, so I firmly believe that I was born of the wrong era. I am a 45-year-old Bob Hope in 2026. Like I alluded to, Michelle and I did music for a while. I did that because my wife sings like an angel and I wanted to give her the stage. She wanted to be in a band. I'm like, well, the best I can do is I've been kind of noodling on guitar to get girls since high school. So let's do a duo. So we did. I wasn't great at it, but I was good enough to play coffee shops and stuff. This job, I'm not probably the best host, but I'm good enough at it. You're a
great host.
I can pretend to be charming enough that like it gets me to where I need to be. So I don't know that I'm ace number one, the best at anything I do, but my average across the 5 tools is good.
And tons of experience. You've been doing it for a really, really long time.
I'm old. Thanks for
very, very, just decades and decades. No. I want to stay focused on directing because you got something coming up that you want to share with the audience here, and then I kind of want to go into this job, living local host. You're an artist in that sense, but first let's hear a little bit about what you got coming up.
Yeah, it ties into our sponsor. Lacrosse Community Theater was gracious enough to tap me again to direct a show for them. And this one is a big one. It's for nerds in theater life. It is a very recognizable show. It's called Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike. It's by Christopher Durang, written by Christopher Durang, who is a name that theater nerds will be like, ooh. This play won the Tony for Play of the Year in 2013. Its original cast had David Hyde Pierce, who you might know from Frasier and a bunch of other things. Sigourney Weaver was also in the play. I'm blanking on the rest of them, but those were the 2 biggies. It's about siblings who are middle-aged, 55, late 50s, and the rivalry that comes up between 3 natural siblings. But it's also about hope and dreams.
What do you like most about this play?
The same thing that really turns me on about any of them that really have done something for me. I love plays that are about real people. I love plays that when you walk out going, oh, that reminded me of my aunt, or that was me, or I saw myself in that.
Kind of hits home a little bit. Sure.
Like I said, I grew up in sketch comedy as far as this world goes, so comedy is always where I'm home to, so I like it when I can make you laugh as well, which this play is full of laughs, but it's one that's relatable. You'll understand if you have siblings, if you ever had an aunt or an uncle that's crazy.
If you'd like to see more of that interview or any of our Artist of the Month interviews, please visit our website, wiproud.com, and visit the Originals tab. We have to wrap this thing up in just a bit, but there is still more to talk about, so stick around. This is Living Local. That's going to be all she wrote for this episode 20 of Living Local. Now, before we get out of here, I wanted to let you know about a fun little show that's happening over at Appleseed Community Theater in La Crescent this weekend. Pete the Cat, the musical. Yes, that Pete the Cat. The groovy blue cat with his shoes and his bus rides and all the other cool adventures that hip cat gets into. In this musical, Pete meets the Biddles, and he gets the whole family rocking. That is, except for Jimmy Biddle, the most organized second grader on the planet. When Jimmy draws a blank in art class during the last week of school, it turns out Pete is the perfect pal to help him out. Together, they set out on a mission to help Jimmy conquer second grade art, and along the way, they both learn a little something about inspiration. Join Jimmy and Pete on an adventure of friendship all the way to Paris and back in a Volkswagen bus. There are 2 shows on Saturday, one more opportunity to see Pete the Cat on Sunday. Also, there is a Pete's Perfect Pizza Party on Saturday where the kiddos will get pizza treats, lemonade, a Pete the Cat book to take home, and they'll get to meet Pete himself. And you can get all that info on appleseedtheater.com. Before we go, I got to thank Lucas Leyshock for his time and efforts. He really never ceases to amaze me with his positive attitude and upbeat demeanor. The man is an absolute ray of sunshine, and that kind of energy is desperately needed for people like me. Please go check out Artist of the Month and all the other stuff that Lucas Leyshock has done on that website. He is a wealth of talent and information for sure. He did a fantastic job getting me to settle down and actually talk to him as opposed to at him. So I also need to thank Megan Larson for stopping by, chatting about Dip Dip Hooray. Remember, that's happening Saturday as well, January 31st at the Holman Public Library from noon to 1:30. That is also for the youngsters, and there are only 25 seats total for that class, so make sure you get on the library website and register today. Your kids will enjoy it, and I bet they're going to come home and teach you a thing or two as well. Now, if you got a minute, I know I say that a lot of the people that come through here are my friends, and that's true. I'm not using hyperbole when saying that about anyone who has appeared on Living Local. However, Megan Larson is probably my oldest friend in La Crosse. My wife and I have lived here now for 15 years. I've known Megan for 13 of those years. And I don't know if it's just me or everyone that experiences this, but as I've gotten older, it's harder to count those people who've been around forever. The ones that have seen me through the triumphs and the tragedies, the ones that know the secrets, the ones that have seen me at my absolute best and my absolute worst. And that's not to say it's anyone's fault, right? People change, people grow apart, people move, people unfortunately pass away. Stuff happens. Suddenly you look around and that wide circle of influence you once enjoyed is now just a handful at best. But that handful is pretty special. That handful consists of people who appreciate the warts more than they appreciate the shine. And they aren't afraid to tell you so. If you have that small circle of influence, let them know. Tell them you cherish them. Tell them you enjoy the perspective they give you. Tell them they hold a special place and that they are most definitely appreciated. And remember, you haven't lost anyone. You've merely been tending a garden, and these are the fruits of that labor. That's all we got. I'll see you next week. Bye now.